Hey everyone, welcome to Midlife Matters. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Julie and Mindy to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. Boy Mom, it's a hashtag, a badge of honor, and a lot of fun. Angela Sadler is joining us today to share her experiences as a mom of 3 teenage boys. We'll talk about everything from surviving the mess to how to connect with your sons on a deeper level. Let's get started. Hey, Mindy.
Hey, Marie.
Hi, Julie.
Hey, Marie.
It's so good to see you guys. I am so excited because we are talking about such a fun topic that I know our listeners are going to really enjoy today. We are talking about being the mother of all boys. And Mindy has 3 boys, and Julie has 2 boys, and I have 2 boys, but we don't know what it's like to be the mother of all boys. And I really think that that is its own unique experience. So we have brought on a friend of Julie's who's going to be our expert in the room. She has 3 boys, and she's going to be talking to us about what that's like being a boy mom. And then also we've had some listeners send in questions about how you can connect more and spend time and deepen the relationship that all moms have with their sons. So that is another thing that Angela is going to speak to today. So I'm so excited. Julie, do you want to tell us a little bit about your friend?
Sure. I was just thinking back when we asked her to be a guest. How long have I known Angela? And adding up the years, it's been almost 13 years now. I can't believe that. I met Angela and her husband and 3 boys back when we were homeschooling and our kids were just in elementary school. So we had a lot of fun times back then, carpooling and going to homeschool field trips and having each other's boys in our homes. And since that time, we've kind of gone our separate ways in school and we've kind of lost touch until my daughter got married. And Angela, who is a floral designer, did the flowers for my daughter's wedding and then again for my daughter-in-law's wedding. She runs the floral division of Big Events Incorporated, which is an event planning company here in Nashville. She and Ray have a beautiful family and they have great relationships with their boys. From what I remember from my son David spending time in their home, they have a lot of fun. And Angela, you seem to have navigated the chaos and messiness of parenting pretty well. I know it wasn't always easy, but I imagine that you're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel now on the other side.
Yeah, it's getting a little easier.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your family.
Ray and I have been married for, it's going to be 25 years this December, which I can't believe. And we've got 3 boys. So Luke, our oldest, he's 19. He's a sophomore at UT Knoxville. Noah, our middle son, is a senior, and he's at Ravenwood High School in a public school here. Will graduate this year. And then my youngest, Eli, is 16. And he's a sophomore, but we have just brought him back home this year to homeschool. So we're kind of come full circle. We homeschooled when they were younger and then put them all in public school. And now this year, homeschool is going to be, I think, the best fit for Eli. So it's kind of funny how we're coming back around to that.
All right, well, let's just get started. Hashtag boy mom. First of all, are you okay with that label?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I actually love this title. Now, when I started thinking about having kids, I never dreamed that I would be an all-boy mom. That wasn't something that I aspired to or wished when I was a little kid or anything like that. Matter of fact, the first time I was pregnant, I was pretty sure right from the start that it was a girl. So I was a little surprised when we found out it was a boy. So that was fun having the first boy. And then when Noah came along and he was also a boy, I settled into that pretty easily because it was familiar. Funny story, though, when Noah, my middle, was 3 months old, we got pregnant again with Eli.
Oh, wow.
And so that was, we wanted more kids, but we didn't think they would come that on top of each other like that. But when I went to get the ultrasound, they told me it was a girl.
No.
And when they told me it was a girl, if you can imagine, I had a 2-year-old, a 6-month-old, and then they told me it was a girl. I was actually kind of thrown and almost a little disappointed because I needed something I was like, I need something easy. But I kind of started to embrace it. We got some girl clothes. We started, fixing up the nursery. And then thank the Lord, about a month before he was due, and we had to have another ultrasound because I was having some symptoms. And sure enough, we found out that was in fact a boy, not a girl. And I was so relieved. And it was so funny because, yeah, you wouldn't think that, looking out or, out looking in. But I think I knew boys. That's all I knew. I had the boy clothes. I had the boy toys. And I was about to have 3 kids in 3.5 years. So I really embraced the boy mom title. I think I liked that. And I did, kind of identified with it and just went with it. So yeah, that label has never bothered me a bit. Matter of fact, I kind of like it.
I've talked to boy moms before, and if they're pregnant with their third after 2 boys, all they hear is, "Oh, I bet you're trying for a girl. Oh, do you hope it's a girl? Oh, you guys went for a girl." But with you thinking that it was a girl, you got to skip over all that.
Right. That's true. I hadn't thought about it that way. But yeah, I used to get comments all the time like, "Oh, are you trying for a girl? Are you going to try for a girl?" Especially after we had Eli. And, I would laugh. It didn't bother me, but I would laugh and say, well, if we're not going to try for a girl, we would adopt one if we wanted a girl, because the odds are, if you look at the science and you look at the statistics, if we're going to try for anything, it's not going to be for a girl because we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. And at one point we actually did even consider, adopting a girl, thinking that would be, if we want a girl, that's probably the best route to go. But it never really worked out. So I'm just really hoping my boys, I'm putting some pressure on them. Like, you better have some little girls because I'm going to need some grand girls in my life.
What would you want to tell people about your all-boy life, or what's something you would want people to understand about it?
It's changed over time. When the boys were younger, obviously, and especially because I had them so close together, I think that added another layer of a challenge. Not only did I have all boys, but I had them all in 3.5 years. And so a lot of times people would say, "Oh my gosh, are those triplets?" Or a lot of times Noah and Eli, even though they don't look anything alike, would say, "Are they twins?" Because they were only 11 months apart. Or it was somewhat exhausting for sure. In the early years, just lots of activity, lots of physical activity. I mean, if you all have boys, so there's a lot of energy, a lot of physical exhaustion is a word that comes to mind when they were, younger. Lots of getting energy out, having to get outside, not a lot of sitting down playing board games, when they were little, or none of my boys really liked to sit and read until it was, of course, bedtime. And then they wanted me to read to them all night. But, and I will say we chose, and this is a little background, Ray's father actually passed away right before he was born. So Ray did not have a father growing up. And my father was a real strict disciplinarian, and that was just the way he knew and to parent. And so when we had our boys, I think what my natural tendency was to kind of swing to the other side of the pendulum, where we were a little more lenient and let the boys be probably more self-expressive, weren't super, super strict. When you add that to being an all-boy mom, it makes it a little more challenging. And looking back, I don't regret doing that, but it made it more work. And what I mean by that is, we really let them kind of do their own thing. It wasn't like, okay, we have all boys, we're all going to do the same sport, we're all going to do the same clubs, we're going to all wear the same clothes. I mean, that would have been a lot easier. But it wasn't in my nature. I couldn't do that. And so they were into completely different things. I mean, Luke, he was into sports. He is my typical, older child, very self-disciplined, organized. He was a little engineer by the time he was 3 years old and is now in engineering school. But then my middle son was like super creative, a little rebellious. He was a skater. Like, I was a skater mom to this, and we competed and we traveled. And then my youngest, he's just my social butterfly, he's not into sports at all, super creative, into music. So being an all-boy mom isn't always, I think, what people think, which is, oh, you're just, you're at the ball fields all the time. And, it really, for me, was very multifaceted.
Your boys are all very different. What's it like being the only female in a house full of all boys?
This is probably the question I get the most. It's funny because I don't know anything different. I remember early on thinking, we got to get a female cat in here and a female dog. I mean, we were trying to get some estrogen at whatever option we had because, and I joke about that, but really there was a lot of testosterone in the house. It's definitely, something that you don't naturally identify with, as a woman, as a girl, because you weren't ever a boy. I think it seems like it's a little easier to identify with a girl, even at a very young age, because you were a young girl. The other thing about being the only female, when they were little, they didn't think about, oh, my mom's a different gender, but as they got older, they did become, I think, more sensitive to me as a female. And that's something that we, of course, tried to always teach. My boys thought girls were pretty special because they didn't have a sister to pick on or a sister that they were used to being around all the time. My boys were pretty good at treating girls with respect. And I think there was this curiosity that they had about interacting with girls at a young age. And I think even to this day, I see that in them. They see them as different and special because they don't really live with another girl.
I've always kind of imagined being an all-boy mom that you might get to be like the princess of the family, that you would get all the special treatment. I don't know. Maybe that's just the romanticized view of it all.
It's funny. Like when you say that, I kind of laugh because I don't think it really was that way necessarily. I don't think I felt like a princess. But Ray, when he would come home from work, I mean, it was mama gets a break because I do think, when you're a mom to all boys and they're young and close in age, it's exhausting. And especially when you're homeschooling. And my boys got that. They knew that when mama needed a break, she needed a break. And they did respect that. Ray used to let me, it's going to sound crazy probably to you, but he would let me go to a hotel. Like I would take a break. I would go to a hotel for the night. I'd get on Priceline. I would search something up when I needed a break. And I would just go to a hotel locally here in Nashville or, Brentwood or somewhere and literally just take a bath in a clean, bathroom and just stare at the wall. That was something that probably happened. I'm not even exaggerating, like maybe once every month or two for a long period of time.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is. And I tell people that and they're like, that's brilliant. I never
That would have been my dream. Like,
I know, right?
I would have loved to have done that. That's great.
Yeah. So I don't know how we implemented it. Maybe I ran out the door one day and said, I don't know where I'm going, but it became like a real reward for me. And my boys understood it. They're like, yep, mom's gone to the hotel for the night.
We just talked about this a few weeks ago that it's important to tell your people, your husband, your boys, whoever, what you kind of expect, that they can't read our minds. So you had to train your husband, you had to train your boys that this is what you need. They would not naturally know that or get that.
Yeah. And then too, just being in a house with all boys, there is a lot of mess. I've got one with ADD, another with ADHD, and my husband's not the most organized person either. He'd tell you that. And so I really did have to kind of, for a time, lower my standards and my expectations about what my house needed to look like because it would have spiraled me had I not. There were times that I just wanted to light the whole house on fire. I'd look around and be like, I can't handle. Or we had, they wanted to make forts. And so, or there were pillows. Every single pillow we had in the whole house would be on the floor and you couldn't even walk. Or we had forts everywhere. And there was a season of time where that was my life. And I finally had to come to terms with, I'm going to fight this and be miserable, or I'm going to settle into it and realize that this season will come to an end and I will have some order again in my home. I think women in general, if there's clutter, your mind seems to clutter as well. And my boys didn't care a lick about clutter. It didn't bother them one bit. They would walk over trash for days and, not even notice it. And so, and I think being an all boy mom, that's something that I think is probably pretty common. And so we really did allow them to be messy. And looking back now, I felt like I did have to explain myself anytime someone came over. But looking back now, I don't regret that a bit because it made for a lot of creativity and fun. And choosing your battles, and not having to choose that every day, I think saved us a lot of stress.
That's why your house was the fun house.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess.
I know it's either fun or clean. I don't know that you can be both.
Right, exactly.
Right.
All right. Well, Angela, Julie had written down a few funny things about like just having boys in general. Like, how many times have you been to the ER?
That's a really good question. And you're not going to have a funny story. So by the time Eli was 3, we had been to the Vanderbilt Children's ER 13 times.
Oh, no.
And some of it was, RSV, but most of it was stitches, bumps, accidents, that kind of thing. And one of the last times that we were in the ER when they were young, we were interviewed on the Children's Miracle Network telethon. Because, yes, we spent lots of time. We had one scary accident early on with Luke. It was a freak accident. He had to have an emergency surgery, and where he'd fallen, and he was holding a ceramic piggy bank. He fell. It broke. He fell on it and severed like a major artery in his wrist. Noah was crawling around. I was big and pregnant with Eli. And, I walk into the hallway and, blood's gushing out of his arm. So, we've had some things like that. Looking back now, we're like, wow, it is a miracle that we're all alive. But yeah, that's something, I think it's kind of it's a stereotype, but for us, it was really true. We spent a lot of time in the ER, lots of broken bones, lots of stitches.
Well, what about property damage? What's the worst thing that they've ever done to your home?
There's not been any broken windows, believe it or not. Oh. We have lots of holes in the walls. We found a hole in the wall just the other day, and no one claims it. It was we just got back from vacation, and we haven't had a hole in the wall in 10 years. And it's right in the middle of our kitchen, and it looks like the end of a broom. It might have hit it or something. Seriously, it's so funny because still to this day, no one's telling us who did it. But we did decide early on we are not getting new furniture. We're not painting. We're not doing any of that for a very long time. Now, I finally gave in after about 10 years because I was like, this furniture is so disgusting. Even if we go to Goodwill and buy something else. They were rough on our house, especially when you homeschool and your kids are home, a lot of the time. I did see a difference when the kids went to school that, there wasn't as much wear and tear on the house. But one funny story, do you know what those Enos are? The hammocks, that you can put up. One year, we got all 3 of the boys Enos and for Christmas. And I was like, I wish there was a fun way we could hang them in their rooms. And I was thinking, something stable from the ceiling, and I go in one day and Ray has screwed these bolts into the walls on both sides. Like I don't know how he figured it out, but it wasn't 5 days later that I walk into Noah's room and he and 2 other kids were swinging on it, just swinging back and forth. And it just came out of the wall. Matter of fact, I saw it because I heard some loud noise and I went up to check on it. About that time, and there's huge holes on both sides of the wall. It ripped the entire bolt out. So, some of those patches are still not repaired. And sometimes when people come in your home, you feel like you have to explain, if you have a hole in your wall, that's kind of odd. And I want to say, no one punched that hole. We don't have anger issues up in here.
Right.
But yeah, and we've broken plenty of furniture. But it's funny. When the kids were younger, my style, and it still to this day kind of is, my style is more of that shabby chic kind of, vintage look. And it's a fabulous design if you have all boys, because if you've got painted furniture that you like to distress, that's the perfect furniture for kids, for young boys, because they can help you distress it naturally just by being around it, and you can hide it. I'm kind of serious, if you're thinking about what can I have for this season, think about that distressed look, because it really does save you from having to replace things.
Yes, for sure.
I just thought of something I want to know.
Okay.
Did you restrict a bathroom and keep it just for you, like an all-girl bathroom?
Oh,
this is a great question. When Eli was a baby, we moved into a home. We downsized to move into an area because we worked with refugees in a certain area of town. And so we downsized. We only had 2 bathrooms. There was no bathroom just for Angela at all in this home. But when we moved to the home we're in now, about 7 years ago, I was determined to have a bathroom that was mine. And we had a master bathroom that was fairly large. And it felt bad to say, Ray, can you go to another bathroom? But, because I included Ray in this too. Like, I really did want an all-girls bathroom. This is so funny. I have a rule that in my bathroom, if you're going to go, it is only to pee, and that is it. There is nothing else happening in my bathroom but that. And they have respected that. Poor Ray doesn't even, he goes to the extra bathroom downstairs.
I love that.
I mean, toilet.
Way to go.
Yeah. But when it comes to like aim in the bathroom, like in the toilet.
Please.
Okay, no. Horrible aim. I mean, just even to this day. And so I did invest in some cheap mats, around the bottom of the toilet. And we would check them once or twice a month and get new ones. And so I had some hacks that I did to kind of keep our floors from being completely destroyed.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, that was always an issue.
I think whether you're an all boy mom or just even a mom of one boy, I don't know
Right.
what it is. When you start out teaching them to go to the bathroom, you might put a Cheerio in there or something, they aim for it. You think, okay, they're doing good. They're doing good. I think they get worse with their aim as they get older. It's like they're just looking around, and wherever they look, it's just going. Yeah. I mean, it's just unreal.
Yeah, they get taller too. And so they get taller and they're aiming further distance.
Yes.
And they really can't, especially when they're half asleep.
Yes. I really feel like, when will men ever sit down to go to the bathroom?
Just sit down. I know.
They would find a way. Even if they were sitting down, there would be a way to have it.
Don't you think that it would be smart to put a urinal in your house? I mean, with as many boys as you have, we've talked about that in our house.
Yeah, I have a friend who has 5 boys and 3 girls. She has 8 kids, and they have a urinal in the boys' room. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Ray does all the toilet cleaning. Yeah, he does all of it because I can't. I get a 6 time, and if the toilet stops up, oh, you better believe I'm running out of the house. Like one time, Ray was in Phoenix on a work trip, and the toilet stopped up upstairs. I shut the door and locked it. I was like, no one go in there, because the boys try to fix it and it makes it so much worse. Like do not go in there with the plunger, because then it's all over it's awful. There needs to be an emergency toilet person that would come to your house.
Oh my gosh.
I can't
Did you
handle
just leave it there until your husband got home?
Yeah, he was coming home the next morning, and it didn't really smell. If it had started smelling, I would have had to pull in like the neighbor or something, but
oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to tell you what I've had to do with toilets before. You would get sick.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, it's awful.
My boys always did just shut the door and started using other toilets.
You're like,
they wouldn't tell
somebody. Why are you down here? And it's like, it's been stopped up. How long? Since Monday. And it's
what? My kids have been grounded before for not telling us, because because they are all upstairs. If you can imagine, all 3 of them are upstairs. So Ray would used to have to go up before me. Like, you have to go up first and pre-clean, which just means get toilet, get all that. There were days that I just couldn't go up there because I didn't know what I was going to come across. But yeah, they would get grounded for not telling us because it was upstairs. So it would go days. And then by the time you get up there, it's like you've got to have a gas mask to get in the room.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't want them moving to the bathroom number 2 or 3 to stop it up and not tell anybody,
True.
Oh, gosh. Well, they're not they know they're not allowed to come near my bathroom if they've got to do that. So
I think boys just don't know how to use toilet paper properly, because when they poop, they use way too much because they just don't understand how to use it.
Oh, we have a rule. Every time something hits the water, you flush. I don't care how much my water bill is going to be.
Like that rule.
And it is that,
flush.
And if I don't hear it, like if they're in the powder room and I know they've been in there a while and I haven't heard a flush, I'll be like, flush the toilet. But yeah, every time something hits the water, you flush. That way the smell.
That's a great rule. That needs to be printed up on the wall.
It does.
Well, when we went to the Parade of Homes, I don't think it was last year, maybe the year before, I couldn't believe it. They are building bathrooms now where it's a separate toilet closet for the man and the woman. What a genius. Why does not every home have this?
Would love that so much.
Yes.
Yeah, if we ever have another house, we're going to custom build my own space because, it's, wow. Especially when you've got a lot of boys.
All right. So yesterday I had a friend over, Angela, and she is an all-boy mom, has 3 boys. she brought up something that she was desperately needing an answer for. Her boys are, she's got two going through puberty right now. And she said, how do you get the smell out of their clothes? And she said, your clothes always smell so good. And I said, oh, let me show you what I use. And we seriously went into my laundry room because my boys are older and I've had experience with how to get the right smells, coming from their clothes after laundering them.
Yeah, let me hear yours, and then I have one too.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about it. Okay, so I have found the Sport Tide, or with the OxyClean in it, Tide. I use that. I have to use Downy Sport. It has to say Sport. Like there's something special about that. And then the bounce sheets that I use are also Sport.
So straight sport.
It's all sport. Anything sport, that's what I get because it does seem to really help with the smell. So I'm curious what you do, Angela.
Yeah, I did have two that played football. And so that was, the sweaty clothes after football practice. And even just picking them up after football, we had to ride with the windows down and I'm holding my breath half the time. That was really the only time that there was a clothes smell issue. And what we found is, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's just I think it's a fabric softener called Suavitel. Have you heard of Suavitel?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So someone introduced me to this when the kids were doing sports. We just add a little bit of that to our wash. And we, to this day, we swear by it. We don't run out of Suavitel. And Ray's even bought into it. We buy the huge one and it's just the fresh scent, nothing fancy because I don't like a lot of, fragrance. Mm-hmm. What was worse for us was shoe smell. Way more than clothes. And so we did, I don't know the brand that we use, but we have something that we spray into the shoes and it sits right by the shoes, especially their athletic shoes or like when they were when football, their cleats and that kind of thing. You definitely have to really invest in some of those tools and have them on hand at all times.
To get rid of the musty smell or the awful smell in shoes, if you put them in a bag, like a Ziploc bag, and put them in the freezer, it's supposed to kill that bacteria. When your child's in a size 13 shoe, they don't fit in a Ziploc bag. And I don't want his shoes in my freezer. I've got food in there that I want. And so I'm like, I'm going to need a separate freezer. I'm going to need huge bags. I'm like, this is not happening.
Right.
Yeah, that might be more than, That's funny.
Well, Angela, I know that a lot of our listeners have boys, of course. They're half the population. But we do get questions on what do you do with your teen boy to connect with them? So what have you found as a mom? What are some of your favorite activities for you to do with your boys that you feel like you both enjoy?
That's a really good question because I think especially with teen boys, unless you are super intentional, there is not much connection. And because they really don't have much to talk about unless it's something that, is not, it's pretty superficial or shallow. And so my biggest way that I communicate with my boys now, and some people may completely disagree with this, what I do that I feel like really gets them to talk to me and to really dig deep with me is texting my children. And I'm talking about me laying in my bed, they're upstairs in their bed, and we are texting. And initially when I started doing that, I was like, this is the most shallow, like against everything I believe in, way to communicate with my boys. But I found, and if you're a mom of teenage boys, you know this, you have got to find the perfect time. And it's usually never when you want to talk to them, right? It's never right, when they come home from school. It's never right when you're ready to talk. A lot of times it's when you're exhausted that they've decided they now want to open up and share their entire hearts with you. I have found that texting has been really helpful, and they will share things in a text that they may not share with me face to face. I have learned more probably about my boys starting with a text. Now, it may not end in a text. It may, starts in a text and then it's a continuing conversation. But as far as like activities and things that we do together, they have to be planned. I think scheduling things, finding things that they are interested in, and then recommending that you do that together. I know that Noah, a couple of years ago, he was into boxing, like watching boxing on TV, which I could have cared less about. But if I said, oh, let's watch this match together, he would show up for that. My oldest son, Luke, of course, he was a high school football player. And so I jumped into being involved in that as a parent. So I had to find, what they were interested in. Eli, for a while, was really interested in doing magic tricks and sleight of hand things and cards. And Ray and I found a TV show. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Penn and Teller. And we would watch that together. Then when he was interested in singing, we started watching American Idol together. And for me, it's been more about digging deep into what they're interested in and then finding opportunities to do that and planning things. And sometimes with my teenagers, I have to say, you're doing this. Like, put this on your calendar. And then traveling together, I think, is so important. And we don't do it enough anymore, but to try to get everyone in one place and have that kind of audience where there's no other distractions. We just took a trip, the 5 of us, to Florida, and we actually met up with other family members while we were there. But being in the car for 8 hours, just the 5 of us, being in our own separate condominium, making intentional time to make that happen, sometimes is the only way we get that quality time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all those things are super important. I know, Mindy, you've said often that you suggest things and your boys say, oh, I don't want to, and you pretty much have to force them.
I do. In fact, they joke now that Mom might be asking, but pretty much Mom's telling
That's a good way to put it.
And so they just joke about it now. And I'm like, well, yeah, you're right.
I do. I think in the teenage years, you have to just force it. And once they get there, they usually are, they settle into it and they enjoy it. And places like Topgolf, there are places around where we live where, they're not going to be excited about going there with just their parents or just their siblings. But once they get there, it's a lot of fun. So
That's
just having
right.
fun.
I know
It's
one
true.
of mine really loves food. So I can always say, hey, would you go out to lunch with me? And he's always going to be on board. And I'd let him pick the restaurant, or we like the same things. And there's usually a conversation that'll happen over food. I found that to be a good way.
And I think too, you mentioning that made me think, when your teenager says, hey, let's go do this, or hey, let's go do that, which doesn't happen very often. But when it does, I feel like you drop everything and you do it, because you just don't get that many opportunities. And so, you try to take advantage of that.
I wanted to ask, do you find that you just need some girl time? And how do you go about getting that? Are you real intentional about that? And I wanted to mention too, let me just say that I think it's kind of funny that you are a floral designer and you work with weddings. Like, that seems to put you in a girl world. Do you find that that's something that you gravitated towards because you have boys, or is that just you were interested in that?
As far as the floral designer part, I actually was designing flowers before they were even around. So the floral part didn't really come because I had all boys, but it has been a great complement to just the all boy mom piece, because I do get a creative outlet that is something that I wouldn't necessarily do with boys. I love being a floral designer, and maybe I stayed with it because I had all boys. Maybe it was something that, that I really gravitated towards. Our team just happens to be all women, and it is such a therapeutic type of time for me, and definitely. But I was very intentional from a very early age, when my kids were younger, of having girl time. And Ray was very supportive of that. I was very thankful. I was always in a Bible study, and still to this day, I'm in the same Bible study I've been in for a long time. It happens to be my floral team. Most of my floral team is in this Bible study together. That really, really was necessary and continues to be. And if there's one piece of advice I would give young moms, is boy moms, and this is moms in general, of course, but boy moms too, is make sure you carve out that time to be with other women, even if it means, investing in a babysitter, if you have a husband that can't help out with that. But super important. And as one of the reasons that I'm still sane today. All my boys have always had friends that are girls, and I love to be around them. And that's something too. If you're an all boy mom, I think it's important to be around moms that have girls and interact with them. I have several friends that are all girl moms, and their daughters are like second daughters to me. And it fills a void, that you don't get as a mom of all boys. And a lot of times I leave their house and I'm like, thank God I have all boys, there's God knew that I couldn't do that kind of drama, or I can't, when it comes time to prom and they're telling me how much money they're spending on prom dresses. And I'm like, I thought Tux was a big deal, so there are some things that you don't realize that you're not upset that you're missing out on necessarily, but
right.
I had a friend, she had 2 boys. And when Molly was probably middle school, she would say, can I borrow Molly for the afternoon? And she would just go spend time with my friend, and they would do something that she didn't get to do with her boys.
Yeah, I've done that before. I have a couple of adopted daughters that are friends of Noah's right now, and they're seniors in high school, and they just love me. And, and Noah's at that point where he's like, no, you don't take pictures with your mom. And 3 of them actually came to my office yesterday because I'm helping them with this dance that they're doing for the high school. And they were taking selfies with me, and they were like, oh my gosh. And they were sending them to Noah. And I thought, this is so fun. Girls can be so fun. And so, yeah, it's definitely fun to be around girls.
I will say, though, that if they were your own daughters, they probably wouldn't want to take a selfie with you right now, because I think there's something cool about someone that's not your mom.
That's so funny, because I told my friend, one of the mothers of the girls that was with me, I told her what had happened. She said, oh, that's just because you're not their mom. She wouldn't have done it with me. I was like, okay, that makes it even more fun.
What do you think is the best part of having a house full of boys?
Just to see the way they treat girls, because they don't have girls as sisters. I think that's a really fun thing to watch. There's definitely way less drama. I think if you have girls, you could probably agree. They just see things one way. They don't speculate, they don't read into things, and
overanalyze.
Yes. And it just makes it a lot more simple. They don't care that much about, crazy decorating their rooms. They don't care as much about, clothes and fashion, although lately my kids are into this thrifting. Are your kids thrifting at the Goodwill stores? Like, this is something new that 2 of my boys are doing. And one of my boys that would never wear anything but like Ralph Lauren and khakis is now buying all his clothes at Goodwill. And Eli the other day was like, I'm running to Goodwill. I want to go to Goodwill with my friend to look for some clothes. And Ray said, can't you wait till Saturday when it's all 50% off? And I'm like, oh my gosh, Ray, the kids want to go to Goodwill. Give them a break. It's like we've got but it was so funny. And even Ray laughed after he said it. He's like, I guess you're right. We really shouldn't complain that they're shopping.
Yeah, wait till Saturday when it's only $1 instead of $2.
Yeah, that's right.
$2, I'm not sure.
I just thought it was kind of interesting when you look on Instagram, there's like 8.2 million hashtag boy moms. There's only 2.2 hashtag girl moms. So What is up with that? Is that a badge of honor that boy moms wear that girl moms don't? Like, why do you think the difference? Because that's a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, when you shared that statistic with me, initially I was like, oh, I've never really thought about that. But once I started giving it some thought, definitely I think a boy mom label is a badge of honor. I think a lot of women think of it that way because, it's harder to identify with a boy. There's definitely more of a learning curve. I think you do have to stretch yourself a little bit more when it comes to learning how to interact and navigating that. And just the physical activity, I think, that comes with most boys when they're growing up that you might not encounter with a girl. So I do think people kind of are proud of that label a lot of times. I've never been irritated by people, seeing me like that. And I don't hashtag it that much, I don't think, unless there's a funny story that I'm telling that's really related to just being a boy mom. And I think, too, there's a lot more crazy stories when it comes, if you think about hashtags, that's usually on social media, and that's usually stories and experiences and pictures. And so I think there's a lot more funny boy mom stories out there, that women think are funny. And so it doesn't surprise me that hashtag is way more used than the girl mom hashtag.
All right. Well, you guys, it is time to move into our I'm a Fan segment. And Angela, we can't wait to hear what you are a fan of this week.
Oh, yeah, I've got a good one. And this kind of goes along with some things we talked about being an all-boy mom. And we talked earlier just about, boys and their lack of accurate aim when it comes to going to the potty. That was a real challenge for us and still is, honestly. Ray used to, and I don't remember when this started, but for Mother's Day, he started getting me brand new commode seats. Okay. I'm not even lying.
That's perfect.
The first time he wrapped them up I don't think I even asked for them. I don't think I ever thought about this. I opened them up and I was ecstatic. Like I could not get over how excited I was. The boys were like, what in the world is this? And I thought, this is brilliant. Are these not expensive? Like I never knew how much they cost. You buy a house and you get your toilet seat and we had those wood ones that are kind of porous, right?
Yeah,
so there's no getting the pee stain out of these wooden ones. So he would get me new ones. So we started every Mother's Day. It became this funny joke, but he would install all new toilet seats. So toilet seats in general, they're not that expensive. Go get them. All you need to know is, do you have elongated or round? Don't get there unless you know that, because then it's a challenge. There's two different shapes. Then, okay, I have an even better one. One day I was at, I think, Home Depot or Lowe's, and I ended up in the toilet seat section. I don't even know. I wasn't looking for them, but I started looking at them and I realized that they sell them these hard plastic ones that are not porous. I mean, and I don't know what rock I was under, but I'd never realized that they had these options where they really do wipe clean every time, no matter how deep the stain is. And they are a little bit more expensive, but I mean, they could have been $250 a piece.
I'm going to go buy them tomorrow, Angela.
I'm not even like, so it's the plastic ones. And then get this, they have, and maybe you've heard of them, but again, I had not. They have something that they call quiet close seats.
Oh, yes,
okay?
I have this.
Do you know about this?
Yes.
Okay. So they have the plastic ones with the quiet close seat that doesn't slam. And it is the best investment you will ever make as a mother of boys. If you have boys in your house, you should never have a wooden toilet seat. I mean, it should be like a rule of some sort, right? They clean up so easy and it's worth every dime. And now we don't have to replace them every Mother's Day. I mean, now I can't think of the last time we bought one.
I am going to go and buy them because I didn't realize that. Like when you said wooden seat, I thought like those old wooden stained ones, but you're saying it's wood and painted white. And I think that's what mine actually said on it. And I think I may have even saw the plastic, but thought, oh, well, that might not be the right thing. But I can see now how much better the plastic would be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we have replaced ours. Yeah, because you never can get the stain off the bottom of it. It's not finished.
Okay. Yes, I am definitely buying those. I will put a picture in our Insta stories. If you buy a new toilet seat, please tag us. We would love to share anyone that buys a new toilet seat based on this I'm a Fan segment.
I think that's the funniest I'm a Fan thing I've heard.
I love it. Toilet seat.
Well, I'm a fan of something related, Angela.
Okay.
So, if you have tile floors in your bathroom and the aim is poor, you cannot get that grout clean. I don't care what you do. And you can't get that caulking around the toilet at the bottom of the base clean either. So all of you guys out there, I do not have a cleaning lady, but what I do treat myself to every couple of years is the Grout Doctor. He will come in and clean that grout so that it looks like new. Then he will seal it so that it cleans so much nicer. And even they have this new thing now where if you have a certain kind of grout, like one of our bathrooms has the little thicker grout, and they can put a paint treatment on that. It's supposed to last for 10 years. So like the grout won't get discolored in that area.
What?
So I'm going to tell you, like in our downstairs half bath, it was going to be $50 for him to clean and reseal it. But it was only going to be $95 for him to put the paint treatment on it, seal it, and it's supposed to be good for lots more years. So I was like, that is the best $100 I could spend.
Wow.
Right.
And he'll re-caulk around the toilet. So I don't know if the Grout Doctor is national, but he definitely is in Nashville. And in your area, I'm sure there's somebody similar. Just look up like professional grout cleaning services. It's a lot less expensive than you think. And oh my goodness, what a difference.
And did you say they also recaulk? Because the caulk
they
is
recaulk.
the worst.
Yes. And they'll do showers, like recaulking all the showers, cleaning the tile or cleaning the grout, sealing it. I mean, you can have them do any tile surface in your home, but definitely such a needed service for keeping those floors clean.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. I'm asking for that for like a gift. That's a great idea.
Christmas is coming.
Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Mindy, what are you a fan of this week?
All right. I am a fan of the Costco mums.
I love those.
I'm so excited. Today I had to go to Costco and my basket wasn't quite so full because I actually went yesterday as well. So
Okay.
So I actually had room. I got 4 mums. They're only $10.99 and they're huge.
They are huge.
Because I was pricing them out at my local grocery store. The smaller ones are like $14.99.
Mm-hmm.
These are like 3 times the size and only $10.99.
I saw them by us this past weekend and I thought about getting them, but I just felt like with 95-degree heat here still, they would probably die.
Right.
But I am definitely going to get some just as soon as we have a little bit cooler weather. Julie, what are you a fan of?
Well, this is something I'm stealing from Mindy that Mindy was a fan of, and I guess she probably still is. But it's Revlon ColorStay Overtime Lip Color.
Oh,
Yes.
And after we met in Chattanooga, I bought some, and I've had to try it a couple times to get the right color. But I love it because it does stay on all day. Normally, within 30 minutes, my lipstick's gone, and this stuff really stays on.
Oh, we are definitely going to
Love
have to put a link to that.
I
Yeah.
am
What's
a
it called
huge
again?
fan.
It's called Revlon ColorStay Overtime.
Is it more of a gloss or a lipstick?
It's a lipstick. It's fairly matte, and then the other
Yeah.
end has a gloss, but I'm not a huge fan of that part of it.
But it doesn't
So-
dry out your lips because so many of the ones I get that are like supposed to be ColorStay, they dry out your lips after a little bit.
It is a little drying, and sometimes I'll put chapstick over. Do you find that, Mindy?
Yeah, I'll just add a little chapstick if I need
Yeah.
to. But typically, it's one I have tried other ColorStay lipsticks that dry out my lips a lot more. This I can wear all day. I've been wearing this lipstick for like 10 years. And everyone asks me the color. Like I have one neutral color and I have one red color.
Oh,
and
well, what are they? Tell
those
us.
are the only 2 colors that I buy. Okay, so my everyday color is Bare Maximum.
Okay.
And it's like just a little bit more than nude. Like you've got a little color on your lips, but it's not too much. I wear it to, every morning I put it on.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I get dressed up, it's my Always Sienna. And it's a more red color. And so if I'm getting dressed up at night or on Sunday mornings, those are the only 2
Yeah.
Okay.
colors
I
have.
did buy
What do
that
you-
one. I have
Yeah.
Everlasting Rum.
Okay.
Number 6. Everlasting Rum.
Yeah. Well,
So-
that's what I get overwhelmed by in the lipstick section. How am I
Uh-huh.
going to choose from 50 colors?
Try the Bare Maximum because we're similarly colored
Yeah.
and it's a great everyday look.
Oh, awesome. All right, you guys. Well, I hope that our listeners have enjoyed this topic today, talking about all boys. And we would absolutely love it if you want to send in any stories about being a boy mom. You don't have to have all boys, just as long as you have a boy. And also, we would love for you to tag us in any stories that you have or any funny pictures. How many times have you gone to the ER? What's your greatest house damage? We would love to hear from you and share those with listeners. Angela, thank you so much for coming on. We so enjoyed hearing your experiences as a mom of 3 boys.
Oh, you're so welcome. This was a lot of fun.
All right,
It was
we'll talk to you guys next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye. We're so glad you joined us today. If you're a fan of Midlife Matters, please tell a friend and help them hit the free subscribe button on their favorite podcast app. We also hope that you'll follow us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast. This is where you can see the things that we talk about on each episode, and we'd love the chance to get to know you better in the comments. You can also contact us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next Wednesday.